Welcome to Keeping It a Little Bit Spicy. Introduce yourself.
My name is Robert. Um, I am here on TikTok. Thank, invited by Abby to be on her podcast. I think most of you guys know me, but if you don't, I've been on TikTok for almost about a year now. It's about to make a year, and just here to talk, have a little chit chat with you guys.
So, guys, the topic of the day is parenting a child with disabilities. And we're going to start with asking Robbie some new questions. So, Robbie, tell us about what your daughter has. What's her condition?
Okay, before I begin, first off, I'm sorry. First off, hello everybody. I know it's been a little while. Nice to see everybody. Just full disclaimer: any questions that Abby is going to ask me, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. It's solely based on my experience, what I've been dealing with as a parent, as a father, what my daughter has. So it's just primarily all my experience, and the information that I will give back to you guys is just information that has been relayed to me in regards to the topic. So I just wanted to put that up there. I'm sorry, Abby, go ahead again.
Okay. What's your daughter's condition?
So my daughter was diagnosed with, technically speaking, idiopathic scoliosis, which is idiopathic scoliosis is basically a form of scoliosis. It's scoliosis that is diagnosed in children, young children. They call it idiopathic because they don't really know where it comes from. It can stem from genetic. It can come from birth. It can come from, anything. They don't know where it comes from. Therefore, they just give it the name idiopathic scoliosis. But it's scoliosis what my daughter has.
Why has it affected you as a parent?
Why it has affected me? Well, it has affected me because my daughter, leading up to a certain age, it was seemingly was seemingly a normal child growing up. She did everything with us. So, it wasn't until her body began to take change in form that it actually started to affect us. It affected, the way that we saw her and the way that she moved and things like that. And it just became like a whole journey for us.
How has it affected her on her daily routines?
Has affected on her daily routines. Well, when she had it, at first it didn't affect her in any way. So we used to go hiking a lot, me and my family. When I say my family, my little family, me, Eve, and my daughter, us three. We're big on hiking. We were big on hiking. We've taken a step back, obviously, because we don't, we used to do that together. So, we used to do that a lot, like frequently upstate and stuff like that. It's changed because, little by little, she wasn't able to do things like that. It just became a little tiring for her and things like that. So, it took a toll in that way.
Hold on. How do you think it makes it more difficult or different from other kids?
Well, how does it make it different? Well, there's different aspects to it, right? You have the physical aspect of it. So if you guys don't know, scoliosis is let's start from the beginning a little bit, right? What is scoliosis? Scoliosis is basically the curvature of the spine. Okay, so some people are born with it, some people it develops gradually over time. Your spine, either you're born with a straight spine, right? But at some point, the spine begins to curve in a shape of a C or shape of an S. Some people get it mildly, some people get it severe. Okay, so there's different levels and severity of the scoliosis. Some people can live their entire lives with scoliosis. It doesn't affect you, can't even tell physically. It's no problem with it. In the case of my daughter, she was born, it was fine. It wasn't until she started to like be around 7-8 years old where we started to notice that her back, her shape was starting to change. And her grandmother actually took notice of it first. Me and Eve didn't notice it at first in the beginning because, we're with her every single day. So this is important for parents, okay? And I'm just gonna start. I know you're asking me questions, but I really, really want to start in the beginning because this is important for parents who have young children who may not notice these signs. Because what we learned in the beginning was that sometimes as parents, we can be in denial with what we are looking at. Because it's very hard for us parents to see our kids differently or in a certain way that we kind of deny what's in front of us. So for some time, I recall seeing that my daughter had a little hitch on her hip. Me and Eve thought nothing of it in the beginning. We were just like, oh, she's growing little hips, it's starting to stick out a little bit, we thought it was something cute. But then we started to notice that it started to take a different form. So then it went from being, oh, this is cute, whatever, to like something is wrong. But we didn't make an alarm of it at all in the beginning because we didn't want to believe or have the idea that something was different or wrong with her. So it wasn't until her grandmother finally, said something is up. And this was up to the age of 6-7 years old, where she was fine seemingly. But then after 7 years old, that's when her scoliosis started to really take shape. And she went from being just really straight and a normal child to her spine was a complete C by the age of 9 in 2 years. So imagine you have a straight spine 1 year, 2 years later, you have an entire, your spine is the shape of a C. If I could show you the x-rays right now, sometimes even when I look back at it, I can't believe what I'm looking at. How I couldn't wrap my mind, my eyes couldn't wrap, my brain and my eyes couldn't wrap around the idea that a human spine can actually take form like that and you still be like normal, regular. And so, I really point that out because, again, the whole point of me telling you guys that is that, pay attention to the signs, pay attention, make sure you take a look at your children, any physical changes that they're having growing up, because like I said, she lived the first 7 years complete normal, no signs, no nothing, checkups, doctors, everything was normal. It wasn't until she hit like 7 years old that the scoliosis really took quick shape and gradually went from a mild scoliosis to a very, very severe scoliosis. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
How did you feel when you guys got the diagnosis that she had that?
Oh my God, I'll never forget it. It hurts. It's like a pill. It's a pill that you never know you needed to swallow to hear that. And to see it, like I said, to see it. So the first x-rays that we had were very mild, like I said. And then from that point on, when she was diagnosed with the scoliosis, and he told me that the doctors told us that at some point in time, that she would need surgery. That's what he said. This was when she was like 7-8 years old, but she was too young to do it. So we didn't accept it. I didn't accept it as a father. As a father, I didn't want to accept it at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't accept it at all, that I had put it in my brain and in my mind that I was going to do everything and anything to avoid surgery, avoid it
Right.
at all costs. So my job as a parent was to do everything in my power to fix this holistically. That was the goal. That was the only goal. I said, I am going to fix this. We are going to fix this together. We're going to pray. We're going to do everything we can. But despite of what the doctor, the surgeon, the specialist saying that she's gonna need it at some point. So what happened was, after she got diagnosed, that's when I started to look into everything. Okay, physical therapy, therapy programs. Okay, in some cases they do work. Okay, and this is important if you have scoliosis or any form of scoliosis, because physical therapies do work. Now, these therapies cost a lot of money. So that took a toll. But at that point, I didn't care, so we did everything we could. Joined programs, online programs, exercise programs, physical therapy, all that stuff. And we were doing it. But it was a long journey. It was a long road, because it took a toll on her.
Right.
It is not easy to do those exercises. If you look up exercises to correct scoliosis correction, they are intense, grueling exercises that a child has to do. Mind you, so my daughter's 7, 8 years old, doing sit-ups, planks, stretches, all that stuff. And I'm there like a coach, trying to push her so she can do the best that she can. And we had our moments. I had my moments. I had my moments of frustration. I had my moments where I would see her and I'm just like, is she doing enough? Am I doing enough? There was times where, it got a little tough and I let frustration take over me. I'm like, you're not doing it right. Like, you do it correctly. I mean, you almost forget that, these are kids.
Right.
These are young little kids that she doesn't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? She doesn't even understand it yet. She doesn't even know what's coming. Okay? Like, she had no idea what's coming. And so we were doing it. And every time we would go to the doctor for follow-ups, the doctor would tell us it's getting worse. And it's getting worse. So one of the hardest parts were that I had to tell my daughter and look at her in the eyes and look at her in the face and said, don't listen to them. We're gonna fix this. I promise. I promised my daughter that we would do this and fix this without getting surgery. She understood what surgery was. But I had to tell her that don't worry. I promise we're gonna do this together, and we're gonna pray, and God is gonna help us, and God is, all that stuff. What ended up happening eventually was that the curvature got so severe, it was inevitable. And we said, no, again, we're not going to accept it. And so we decided to get second, third, fourth opinions. So we took a flight and we went to Mexico, and we went and asked 3-4 surgeons, is it true? Does she need it? Is she gonna need it? All of them told us, yes. So each time we'd go to a surgeon and ask for an opinion, they would tell us that, yes, it's inevitable. And that crushed me every single time. Because mind you, I'm trying to keep my daughter's spirits up, right, with the hopes that this is going to get better. And we keep getting told that it's not. Ultimately, I don't know what happened. One of the doctors, one of the surgeons, after we did everything, because I told Eve, I said, Eve, listen, even if she does have to, and then we said this privately, I said, Eve, even if we have to ultimately get the surgery, I want to make sure that I did everything in my power to avoid it, so that if I did need to do it, there's no regrets.
Right.
And so when we did do it, ultimately one of the doctors said, yo, we have to get it. And through God, I don't know how this happened, but because we had issues with insurance. Insurance wasn't going to cover it. It's a big procedure. It's a big procedure. Insurance wasn't going to cover it. So there was going to be financial hurdles that we were going to have to, face to do it. But after the third surgeon or the fourth one, he mentioned this hospital, Shriners Children's Hospital. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's in Philadelphia. They have them all over the U.S. They may have one in Texas. It's really important that you guys know Shriners Children's Hospital. They are an amazing organization. Amazing. He told us about it. The surgeon here in New York didn't tell us about it. He was just like, dude, like, you got to get the surgery. You're going to have to pay this amount. Your insurance isn't going to come. He never told us about Shriners Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. The surgeon in Mexico did. And when he told us that, we inquired and we found out that they do treatment for children for free. Like, some of the best doctors, the best surgeons, and not only for scoliosis, for any disability. For many disabilities. You guys should look it up. Shriners Children's Hospital. It's a really good place. We inquired and we found out that they were going to treat my daughter. So eventually we had to make the decision that yes, we're going to go ahead and move forward with the surgery. And then that's a whole nother journey in itself. That's a whole nother part. But those were the things that led up to that.
How did you feel because you had promised her that you were not going to get the surgery?
Oh my God, man, I cried. I felt like a failure. I felt like I lied to her. I felt like I wasn't good enough. There's a part of you also as a parent that you feel like it's your fault. I went through like this silent depression where it's like, I was blaming myself. Remember I told you guys that we used to love hiking and everything. I was telling the surgeons, I was like, Doc, is it because we went to Costa Rica one time. This little girl at 6-7 years old climbed up I forgot hundreds and hundreds of steps from the top of a waterfall all the way to the bottom, non-stop. Adults couldn't even do it. I could barely do it. She did it non-stop. And I would tell the surgeon, I was like, for a while I thought it was us. I thought it was our fault that we pushed her too hard. You know what I'm saying? By taking her on those hikes. So when, I felt guilty. I felt like I broke a promise. I felt like I didn't live up to as a father, and it was just a horrible feeling. It took some time to deal with that.
And with all the information that you found, the doctors gave it to you, or you just found it by research?
So we knew nothing of scoliosis. I heard of it. I even heard it in rap songs. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've heard it in rap. Never thought that I would be the person dealing with something like that at all. There's not much information out there, honestly. They're still like developing. There's still research. We are currently right now in part of a research team where they provide information for, they study her. Basically, they study her case. They study every case so that they can help the next parent, the next families coming up. There isn't much, but we had to figure this stuff all out on our own. But the big help was honestly online research, joining scoliosis groups on Facebook. That helped a lot. Like,
they have that on Facebook too?
Yeah, Facebook groups on scoliosis. That helped tremendously to see other parents and hear that other parents were going through the similar things as you. At first it was tough though. To join those Facebook groups is tough. You know why? Because every time we would go on that Facebook group, it was always negative. Like, it was always stories of horrific story, like unsuccessful stories. I'm telling you, 95% of the stuff that we heard on Facebook groups was just bad, like really bad. So the next goal was for me, even my daughter was like, you know what? After we had decided that already that we're going to move forward with the surgery, we said, you know what, Ariella, you're going to be a success story. That's it. If we're going to do surgery, you are going to be a success story. Despite of what we were listening and hearing on Facebook groups. But there were still some that were successful and that helped out. They helped a lot. You see here running in the back. But yeah, that helped too. Joining Facebook groups
And
to learn some stuff.
after the surgery, what did you guys do, or what were the treatments after that?
All right, so depending on the severity of the curvature, there's different methods. Okay, there's the Scroff method. I think it's called the Scroff method, where you enter an intense, super intense physical therapy. It's not like a regular physical therapy, but it's super intense. It's painful, but you do that so that you can kind of correct it. Oh, I forgot. Here's details. She had to wear a brace that covered her from the waist up here. A whole back brace. She wore that for I think like a year or two. That was another method that we did before, as to try to fix it. She had to wear that damn thing 23 hours a day. She hated it. I hated it. To put it on her every time. She had to imagine walking around like all day. I think I have a video or something. You guys can see what it looks like. Here you go. This is you guys can see it here a little bit.
Yeah.
She had to wear that. She wore it to school. She wore it to sleep. So that is another method to correct. And then you had the surgical methods where you use rods that like growing rods. So the rods will go in your spine and they will grow and they will tweak it as your child gets older. They correct it. Then you have another type of surgery where you put rods and screws in your back, but then eventually you can take them out. Unfortunately for my daughter, the only real option that she had was to get spinal fusion surgery. So spinal fusion surgery is basically you put two rods, and I think she has two rods and screws, and you fuse them together with the spine. So you fuse it. It gets stuck. It's there. It just grows around it, and that's it. And you grow with it. And even that one was tough to accept. So that's another pill. Like, you had to accept that they're going to cut up your little baby girl, right? They're going to cut her open, put two freaking rods and 28 screws in her back. That wasn't easy to deal with. Okay? That wasn't easy. But I can talk to you a little bit of my experience of the day of her surgery. So her day of her surgery, we were at the hotel, okay? Shout out to Ronald McDonald House Charities, by the way, okay? I worked for McDonald's when I was 17 years old, and that charity's been going on since forever. Never knew that in the future that I would have to go through that, okay? Ronald McDonald House Charities were... they gave me a place to stay, place to eat, everything. Like, they accommodated. You could stay there for as long as you want while your child is getting surgery. Ronald McDonald House Charities. So if you're ever in a situation, God forbid, that you need to look up Ronald McDonald House Charities. So we're sitting there in the room, and we're praying the day before surgery day. It was actually a good day. Like, we were just like hanging out in the room. We were joking, keeping the spirits up. The entire time, my daughter's spirits were really up. Like, she was on the up and up. She didn't really know what was coming. But I got a sign from God because I had a scratch off of a Roblox ticket that I had bought my daughter some Robux, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I bought that, and I scratched off the number on the back of the Robux, and it had the word God in the back. And that was my sign that I knew that everything was going to be okay. This was the night before. And when I tell you I had the best sleep ever the night before surgery, I slept like a baby. I slept calmly. I had a peace over me. And I knew it was going to be good. The next day we woke up, we were ready to go. But this is where the next part of this journey started, because the day of surgery, you're there and you have to sign off on these clipboards where it's saying that your child can die during surgery, right? They're going to open up your child. I couldn't, I started crying. Okay, I was doing my best to not cry because my daughter is really sensitive and she can sense it. Like, if, I'm sad or whatever.
Yeah.
I tried my best. I couldn't hold it. The tears had to come down because it's like I'm signing off on my child. I'm not going to see her. They're going to take her away. They're going to do whatever. So I was signing off on the anesthesia. I was signing off on the death thing. Like, God forbid, blah, blah, blah. She did that. That was done. That was hard. Then they gave her the funny pill, the thing for her to go to sleep. That was very funny because when they gave that to her, I don't know if you've ever been under anesthesia. You start saying and doing some funny things. She was hilarious there. So that was like a really light moment leading up to that. But after they took her away and she knocked down, they took her away. Man, when I tell you those were the longest, what was it, like 6 hour surgery? 6 hours of my life.
Yeah.
Me and Eve were just in the hospital, just pacing around, staring at the ceiling, just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. It was so freaking scary. We didn't know what was going to happen. The doctor told us, this is what the doctor told us. The doctor said that they can only correct a little bit. Okay? A little bit. Mind you, okay? She has a C. Imagine right now your spine is the shape of a C, how you look physically from the outside. Imagine on the inside. They said that they can only correct it just a little bit, that they're going to try their best. We said we'll take whatever you can. And so waiting those hours were, man, that was the longest 6 hours of my life. Because there was a screen, and then the TV screen, it shows up like if it's completed, if they're done. We kept checking, we kept looking, nothing. Finally, it said that she was done. The doctor comes out and he says, this fucking guy, he says, we're sorry, we couldn't correct what I promised you. He's like, we did more than that. So we're like, what? He's like, yeah, we corrected like about like 70 something percent of it. Like seemingly, he showed us straight. To me, it was like straight. And we're just like, what the? Because we know what it looked like before. So I just cried, like I just bawled. I was like, yo, doc, what did you guys? That is amazing. Like the work that he did, that they did. It was incredible. It was incredible because I've seen the Facebook group X-rays of people who got this surgery, and they're not as straight anymore. They're still like, whatever. Come to find out that all the work that we did, all those exercises, all those physical training, everything that we did actually helped her to lead up to that point. So even though I thought that I was doing the wrong thing, think that it wasn't working, God was working behind the scenes. God was preparing my child for that moment. God was preparing us. He said, you guys are doing exactly the things that you're supposed to be doing in order to be at this point. Because if you didn't do that, who knows if that would have been as successful. Right. It was a very successful surgery. Very, very successful. And the recovery part now is another story. Hello, like I had ACL surgery and everything. Mind you, I had just gotten ACL surgery too that same year.
Oh my goodness.
I had just recovered from my surgery and everything. Then she had to get surgery. It was tough, but she had to stay a week in the hospital. But the first 3 days were one of the hardest things also because you're watching your child scream in pain. I had to hear my daughter say, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, yo, just cut it off. Like, end this shit. Like, type shit. Like, I can't do this no more.
Oh my God.
No morphine, no painkiller, no nothing, no medicine can stop the pain that she was feeling. And we just had to sit there and watch her take it. That's strong. She's a strong girl because I know I wouldn't be able to take it. And but long story short, after 1 week, 1 week of being in the hospital after she had that surgery, she was home and she was walking. She was walking on her own. She was, doing, she was good, like, and but that recovery process, that 1 week in the hospital, was really tough.
Yeah. And how is she now?
Now, so
And how is she now?
now, so she's good now. She's good. They say that if we ask her all the time, do you feel any pain? Do you feel anything? Like, like, she's like, no, I don't feel anything. I'm fine. Like, she's seemingly normal and fine. Granted, yes, she's limited to her flexibility has been compromised, obviously, right? Like, she can't bend over or do like a bridge or anything like that. But she can do everything else. Sometimes we forget that she even got surgery. We forget that she has 2 rods and 28 screws in her spine right now, currently as we speak. The scar is like this big, literally like this big. But she's perfectly fine. We go to checkups with the doctor every single year, every year, every few months in the year. And every time we've gone, I think we've gone 3-4 times, and they told us that everything looks perfect. Everything looks great. And they say that if you don't have pain at a young age after the surgery, then as you grow older, you're less likely to feel any pain as an adult, which is a good sign. And I'm just praying that continues. It's one of my still one of my biggest fears, but I don't think about that because it's she's a kid now, and I don't want to think about adulthood or anything yet because like we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, she's fine. She's a normal kid. She never liked sports before anyway, even before she had surgery. So it's not like she wants to go play football and shit. Yeah, doctors say that she's limited, like you can't go on roller coasters or things like that. But she's been to Disney. She's been on roller coasters. She's been on things that go up and down. Nothing has moved. Nothing has changed. Everything is okay. Thank God. Everything is fine.
How do you feel now that knowing that she's better with the surgery?
A lot of people ask that, like, do you regret doing I don't regret it. The reason I don't regret it is because I don't know if everyone here believes in God or, believes in a spiritual divine. The reason I don't regret it is because I already got the sign. I already went through it, where I got my answers from God to say that I was doing it. Because when you look back and when you reverse engineer that whole period, the 3 years, we would have never gotten to the place that we've gotten to if we didn't do everything that we've done. Because there were people that I've met, because if I didn't tear my knee, I wouldn't have been delivering pizzas, right? Because I wasn't working. I wouldn't be delivering pizzas on one leg and then delivering a pizza to a stranger that worked at the physical therapist office that put me on and connected me with that person. You get what I'm saying? Right. Like everything needed to happen. If the surgeon, if I didn't get asked for another opinion, I wouldn't have gone to Mexico. If I didn't get those 3 no's opinions from the surgeons in Mexico, the 4th one wouldn't have told me to see Shriners. You know what I'm saying? Everything needed to happen the way it did in order for me to be at this point. So no, I don't regret anything. How do I feel? I feel great that we got it early. Hey Tiff, thank you. And no regrets at all. No regrets. And that's what I wanted. That's what I said in the beginning, that if we did have to get it, I didn't want any regrets. And that's what happened. So no regrets at all.
Right.
I'm glad we did it.
So do you guys still go hiking, or that's still a no?
She don't like it. Like I told her, like you guys know that I went to Peru not too long ago. We climbed up Machu Picchu. We climbed up, she did those things. Like those are tough. Like I almost died up there. Like it's tough. She did them. I died up there. My soul is somewhere up there. My daughter did all of them. She did all 3 mountains, 3 or 4 mountains. Her and Eve. Shout out to Eve and her because they did all those hikes. Now she doesn't like it anymore. She used to. She doesn't like going, but we still do it. She likes to go on a regular hike and everything. But during that time, it does take a toll on you mentally, physically, financially. It took all that. went through depression, went through the guilt trips, went through, the blaming yourself. Eve even blamed herself. Like, did I do enough during pregnancy? Right? As a woman,
Right.
you start asking yourself that too. Did I take care of myself the way that I was supposed to take care of myself? Did I eat the right things, while I was pregnant? She was going through all that stuff. It wasn't easy at all. All that stuff took a real toll. Took a huge hit financially, because those classes, those therapy sessions, they weren't cheap. Some of them was paying out of pocket. I remember one of them was called Pain Academy. That shit was like $500-$600 per session. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
Lord.
that shit ain't cheap. Like, I had to go dig into the savings account to go do all that stuff.
And how did you
During
guys
that time.
cope with it though? Like, did you guys look for help, or
No, actually, we didn't. We didn't ask for help from anyone. The only people that we did, the biggest help, I could say this, the biggest help that I feel like that I got personally, was prayers.
right?
From family and friends. To hear people say, listen, I'm gonna pray for you, I'm gonna pray for you, I'm gonna pray for you. It got so bad that, I don't know if you guys know Kiss FM, the Christian radio on. I remember sitting in my car one day, and I'm just like, I need to talk to somebody. And it couldn't be Eve. It couldn't be her. As bad as that sounds, it just couldn't be her. I needed to talk to someone outside of it. And I went and I called the radio station, and I ended up being on the radio, and a stranger did a prayer for me together. We did a prayer on the radio while I was sitting at the car, double parked outside in the street. And that helped. You know what I mean? Like prayer. That it was, to me, the prayers helped. But no, I didn't seek like outside too much help. It was just more like just within.
Yeah. Well, it gets to a moment where you need to speak to somebody. Well, from the research I did, it says it also it affects your height. Is that true? Has it affected your daughter's height?
She was always short. Okay, she was on the short curve. Eve is short. All right. I'm not short. I don't think I am. She's growing since the surgery. She is growing. She gets measured. No, it doesn't affect your height. I thought so too. The spine still grows, but the certain vertebrae do stay locked in. But it grows. You grow with it. Your body does grow. It doesn't stunt your growth.
What advice do you give other parents going through the same thing as you?
Follow your heart. Do what you think is right as a parent. Remember, we're young parent. I'm a young parent. This was this is what, like 4 years ago already. I'm relatively young. Like, our parents don't know. Yeah, you can ask your parents for help if you have it. If you have a mom, if you have a dad still around, God bless you. Ask them for help if you have that. But I just remember not having that during that time, and just being just me, Eve, and my daughter. That's it during that time. Like, I just don't remember too much outside.
Right.
I can just explain to you what that's from like just sticking together. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like we had to just stick together. I felt like it was just us. But just do what feels right. We struggle with doing the surgery. We struggle with not getting it. Just make your decision, follow your heart, and just do what's best for your daughter, because you'd be surprised how many adults are walking around now with scoliosis, 30, 40, 50 years old, saying, and I'm speaking because this is in the Facebook groups of the scoliosis, they regret that their parents never did the surgery. That's why these adults are walking around here with pain, back pain, today as adults, because their parents never took that. But we don't blame them, right? Because 30, 40 years ago is not the doctor, the medicines that they have now. Now it's more advanced. Now they know a little bit more. So you can't really blame them for it. And, no one should, because I'm sure those parents did the best they could, and they also had their own fears. But just do what you feel is right, make sure that you do it, with positive intent, and you go full with it. And just once you make that decision, just do whatever you can for your children. Do whatever you can for your children. That's the only advice. Do whatever you can. Do whatever you feel is right for your child. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to know if it's right or wrong. Have faith and move forward.
Right.
It's time for bed.
Oops. Not for me. That's when school was in session. Alexa.
Alexa said, "Get off already." But yeah, because I did a lot of research, and it says that you get devices, surgery, self-care, and a lot of therapy.
Yeah, I believe therapy is just... Exercise is just going to be part of your life. I tell my daughter this all the time, but she doesn't like exercising. She doesn't like... I told you, she doesn't like physical activities. Once you have scoliosis, physical stretching and exercise is just going to be part of your life, for the rest of your life. But it should be part of everyone's life anyway. Right? Everyone should stretch. Everyone should get up, stretch here and there, because you can develop scoliosis even as an adult later on.
No way.
Yeah, you can develop it. You can just, because it's a gene. Sometimes, it's always been sitting there and it can just advance. You know what I mean? That's another thing that we struggled with. I was like, what did I do to deserve to have, why me? There's such a small chance of people that have that, why us? And there's always a lesson. There's always a lesson to learn. Look, speaking of that, we got Eve in the house.
And what do you think your lesson was?
I don't know yet. I don't know exactly. What I can tell you though is that you learn a lot about yourself. You learn about patience. You learn about making decisions. I can't tell you. I'm not sure. I feel like it's still unwritten. I still feel like, I can't pinpoint exactly yet. I just feel good with that journey that we went through. I feel good with that process, and
Right.
I feel like I did the right thing. That's my piece right there.
Well, does the chat have any questions before we end the podcast? Or just saying hi to Eve. I'm so blind, I can't even see the chat from here. You need glasses.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad. No, but you two are amazing parents. Tiny said no, but you two are amazing parents.
Well, thank you, Tiny. We try. We try our best. No one's perfect.
Rianne said, did y'all do genetic testing after the diagnosis?
No, but I think being that it was idiopathic, I think the only thing, I think if I'm not correct, it said that it could have been genetic. It's probably genetic, Don't know who from. Now, obviously, we've also sat down. We look at Eve's side of the family. You know what I mean? Like, there's people on her side of the family that have things similar. I would go and look at mine, but I don't have family here, and I don't know my family in Mexico or Peru. That have it, so I can't really But that's a good question. I don't even know if I want to know that though. Like, if it's necessary.
Maybe just in case, so you guys can know who carries that gene.
What would it matter? I don't think it would make a difference.
We had genetic testing. It was interesting.
Really? For your son's heart condition? Rian?
She said, for the sake of your daughter's children.
Yeah.
Can they still have kids though?
So yeah, that was one of Eve's concerns that we asked before the surgery, because obviously you know that when a woman gives birth and gives, you know, the hips, they
And then the pain is in your back.
the pelvis, the back, and everything. They said that she would still be able, yeah, with the C-section.
Oh, a C-section.
Yeah, Eve had C-section.
Can't have normal birth. Oh, that's wild. But I mean, at least she can, you know, have her babies.
Yeah, she can carry her babies. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah, she can carry her own kids. Well, Robbie, thank you for being a guest in our podcast.
Yeah, thank God. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Alright, guys. Thanks for sharing. Yes, thanks for sharing, Robbie. It was intense. You were about to make me cry.
Yeah. I mean, I know some of us, you know, we have children that, you know, that have certain things. It's very important that you remind. I just want to leave you guys with this. It's very important that we remind our kids that they are loved. Okay. You want to empower them with what they have going on. You know what I mean? Before, my daughter never wanted me to touch her scar. She didn't want me to even mention it. But slowly but surely, I wanted her to feel comfortable with it, because if you don't do that, they're going to grow up feeling like they're different.
Right.
And, you know, they're like, they have something. But if you learn to teach them and empower them with their struggle, I empower my daughter with that, because what my daughter went through, that pain, to deal with it, to be walking on the 7th day of having your back split open, okay, put rods and screws in your spine, okay, to be playing ice hockey this next day, like on the 6th day, like nothing, is amazing.
Right.
And I told her, whoa, you asked me one of the lessons here. One of the lessons were to teach her about strength and resiliency, because life is not easy.
Right.
Life is hard. And if you ever face something that is difficult in life, I want her to remember what she went through as her testimony, because that, when those tough days come, and they will come, always remember that you went through this. Not everyone makes it, and you were. We kept that promise. She became a success story after that surgery. She was one of the ones that made it. You know what I mean? So make sure we empower our children. Whatever our children have, use it to empower them. Use it to their advantage. You know, and use it to do something great in this world.
Right.
Yeah. All right, my ears are hot with these headphones.
Yeah, you can drop whenever you want. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony and your.
Yes,
for
that's
being
the ultimate
vulnerable
goal.
on here.
I want her to love her scar and show it off. That's the ultimate one. She's gotten more comfortable with that, so hopefully, yeah. All right, I'm gonna come down. Thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the streets.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.